So today, this pod, we are going to discuss the events that took place on Monday and some of the evidence behind it and what exactly happened and all of the grifting that has been taking place with this administration. We're going to dive into it and we're simply going to try to make it make sense.
Here's the curious thing, and here's kind of where the mystery is. I want to kind of zoom in on this area here. So I'll kind of zoom in so you can see this is just the volumes of people going into that oil market and kind of, for the most part, selling after that Donald Trump post. You can see there's this real spike in activity, a lot of people going in there, kind of this frenzy, and that's the kind of flip side of prices. But look at this. 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, there was a very big amount of trading volume. Very big. In fact, actually, when you're looking at that amount of volume, that spike, that was the biggest trading volume that we saw that day. We're starting here just at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going through to that moment of the Donald Trump post. Relatively quiet volumes, not much going on in the market, and then all of a sudden that. And if you're wondering, OK, maybe this was just a one-off, it was someone who made a lucky bet, have a look not just at this. So this is WTI, it's one measure, the US measure of oil. Have a look at Brent, which is the kind of the European, seen as the international measure of oil. Again, the same thing. Donald Trump makes his post, flurry of activity, lots of people there. But look at that. Again, 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, a very big trade. Now, it's unclear whether it's just an individual or whether it's a kind of group of people, but what you do know from just imputing what the potential value, the notional value of those trades just on oil would be, it is staggering amounts of money, life-changing amounts of money, $580 million. Someone has just made a real killing on this, and it's not just oil. So that oil...
On Monday, $0.5 billion worth of S&P 500 future contracts were bet. 102 million in oil futures were sold. This all occurred minutes before the president's market-moving announcement about the war in Iran, which he posted on Truth Social that the U.S. had held very good conversations with Iran and would be pausing attacks. This triggered the oil futures to crash over 15% and to fall the cost of a barrel of oil below $100 per barrel, earning someone or somebody's millions, if not billions, in profit. This is insider trading information and fucking treason at the highest level. There was no leaks, no press, nothing. The only people who could have known that this was going on were the people in that room. When the decision was made and someone in that room picked up a phone, and within minutes, they made more money than most Americans will earn in 1,000 lifetimes on one single fucking hunch, is what they're describing it as, a hunch. Iran later denied that any such talks took place. So as Paul Krugman, the Nobel laureate, who is a highly respected American economist, stated, it is sad to say, in this case, the fanatical, brutal Iranian regime is more credible than the President of the United States. Is he lying or living in a fantasy world? Neither possibility is comforting. Now, this quote comes from an article that Paul wrote in Economics Times that we will include in the link below. So this is what we are going to talk about today. And we've talked offline. I don't know where to go from here. This is just fucking crazy. It's
You know,
unbelievable. Yeah.
I think it's so interesting that you bring up the or you bring up the insider trading because at the same time on Monday, I'm watching market manipulation happening. Scott Bessent is out on the Monday morning shows on Squawk Box right before markets open, coincidentally, talking about how the Strait of Hormuz is open, that oil is flowing, it is so safe to pass through, that, don't believe your lying eyes. The rest of the world isn't buying it, but this, Wall Street was buying it enough that you see not that much long after that interview takes place that you see a market bump, and clearly you can see in these little ebbs and flows. When we go into the weekend, the market is down. People are feeling depressed. They're not really sure about, are we going to bomb again? Are we going to put, troops in Iran? Are we going to put boots in the ground in Tehran or on Card Island? They're not really sure. And then we send out, a Trump official or send out a tweet or a Truth Social on Monday morning right before markets open. And everything is fine. Don't worry your pretty little mind about it. Everything is great. Oil is flowing, and then all of a sudden you see that reflected in the market. And all I could think was market manipulation. These assholes are insider trading and manipulating the market so somebody benefits and gets rich.
Well, I think it's just fucking insane, honestly, that they're fleecing the American people. Like, you're telling the American people right now, hey, cinch your belt, don't worry about it. You know, maybe don't give your kids chicken nuggets if you can't afford it. That sort of thing, right? Maybe don't go to the doctor because do you really need it? And these motherfuckers are passing tips to their buddies and to their kids. Like, if this, well, in the past, right? Because we know that in America, corporations have become so fucking greedy. Like, this is no longer a step on the back, step on the necks of people to get to where you want to be. We are now not even able to talk about genocide because they're afraid they may lose some money, right? And so now you have Iran, for example, like they're having an AI war back and forth with videos and shit like that. Basically, Iran is trying to do the American public a solid and say, hey, look, like, look over here. Look what's actually going on. I just find it so obscene that right now the news media is not covering it. It takes people like us, right? These nobodies that are doing this shit for free to come out here and say, wake the fuck up, people. Like, these people are stealing money hand over fist. Like, you've got two of the president's sons that have drone businesses now that are cornering the market. These motherfuckers, like, they can't even fly a drone. Most drone operators have to go and get an actual license, right? So individuals that want to fly a drone, not even have a company of drones, you have to fight like hell to even get a drone license to fly the damn thing, even in, you know, airspace, like US airspace. The reason I'm talking about this is because of my airline background, right? And I actually know people that are going to get their pilot's licenses right now who are drone operators. And that, like, the hoops they have to jump through just to do this for agricultural, perspectives or whatever for farmers is just obscene. So now you have these two fucking knuckleheads who just happen to be related to the president of the United States. And all of a sudden, let's just take taxpayer money and give it to these knuckleheads. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's to a point where I can't even, like you said earlier in one of these earlier episodes, Kurt, it's like, get your coffee and fucking get to it. And that's what we're doing
Mhm.
every day with this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think there's like 4 or 5 or 6 drone companies that either both of those sons are involved in or at least one of them are involved in, and they don't know shit about drones. They could care fucking less, but when daddy's the prez and, the MAGA world supports the prez and will allow him to do anything he fucking wants because they basically hate the fucking world except for who they is within their cult, well, this is the kind of shit that happens. It's unprecedented, and I'm not going to defend Democrats because Democrats have as much dirt in this game is what the Republicans do. But when you look at Republican leadership and what they have done over the years and how they have bent the knee, licked the boots, whatever you want to call it, to the oligarchs and the billionaires in this country, it's fucking sickening. And again, I'm not defending Democrats because they are to blame, but this shit has to stop. And I think we're seeing a movement in our country where, you know, the younger generations, and that is why I'm locking arms and standing next to all of you guys, because your attitude is what we need right now. Fuck this, fuck the money, fuck the rich people. It's got to be about us. And this is why we are doing what we are doing. It certainly is the motivation behind what I'm doing right now. So, you know, I can't say it enough.
Well, look, man, I mean, the amount of money just in the war, right? But before we get to, you know, the special government contracts for more drones and more bullshit, just the start of the war could have, like, could have fed all of these people right now that we're saying, no, you can't have SNAP. Like, you have to work harder. How the fuck do you go to the American people right now and be like, look, you can't eat. You old people can't eat. Those little kids can't eat. But shit, like, we've got more money than God to bomb the shit out of little brown kids. Like, this is what I mean about right now, people in government, these very rich people. I mean, yes, cult, but also there's just no humanity left. Like, every single person sitting in office right now, if you don't have the backbone to at least say, hey, you know what? I think we maybe have gone like a little bit far right now. Like, aren't we supposed to represent the American people? Like, I can't understand on either side of the aisle, right? Like, I don't give a shit who it is right now. Like, this is why the Ro Khanna stuff is so popular. The Massey and Kana stuff, because the American people are like, fucking thank you. Thank you already for just like standing up and saying something, goddammit, because these motherfuckers, they are trying to roll over the American people and just expect us to say, please, sir, can I have some more? Like, this isn't fucking Oliver Twist. You guys are supposed to represent us. And whether it's, you know, skimming, stealing, writing laws in their favor or whatever. Like, this is just one more example with these oil futures. And why would Iran ever let go of the Strait of Hormuz? All this bullshit that they're saying, like, it's not strategic. It's not strategic from a military perspective. The Iranians, they know if they ever let go of any of their leverage in the Strait of Hormuz, like, they can't. Like, you're putting these people between a rock and a hard place. And if you turn the tables, right? Like, if it were us, you have to ask yourself, would we do this? Hell no. We would bomb the shit out of anybody that was trying to do this stuff. Why should we expect anything different from them?
Well, Tabitha, we got a bunch of dumbasses in charge. That's why we got a fucking ex-Fox newscaster who fucking beat his wife and whose mommy wrote him a 3-page letter saying, quit beating your wife, who's a fucking drunk and has white Christian nationalist tattoos on his chest, in charge of our military operations.
When we have past generals that are saying that our sitting, you know, Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, like however people want to paint it, when we have a past general saying these things that are being said are the makings of a war criminal, this person is in charge of our military.
Well, they've
Well,
been
there's no
saying that
doubt.
for 3 years, so that's
Yeah.
I know.
that's not that new.
I
But
know.
Yeah.
I can't help
really
myself,
quickly,
though.
just to go back, sorry, we got really far down a tangent and I wanted to let y'all cook. But to bring it way back to Don and the two kids, the person that we're not even talking about is Jared Kushner, who also has
Yeah.
dealings, and not just in a drone company. But to Tabitha's point about how we are not represented, um, Jared Kushner honestly isn't even elected representative, though he
Right.
does serve as a special envoy to the Middle East. So that is actually a government role that people need to understand. He does serve in a government capacity, despite 18 U.S. Code Section 208 being the anti-nepotism statute, saying that that's not supposed to happen. But I'll digress from that for 2 seconds to just mention that Jared Kushner owns Affinity Private Equity Firm. He is the sole owner. It took in $2 billion from Saudi Arabia. It takes in 5.4 billion in assets, 99% of which come from foreign governments in the Middle East, and it receives about $40 million per year in management fees. So Jared Kushner receives about $40 million per year by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates to manage their assets, their sovereign wealth assets, which are tied to their publics and their governments. He is a foreign agent. He is being paid to be a foreign agent for these governments. These governments, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, are also all friendly towards Israel. Isn't that funny how that works out? And Jared Kushner is obviously very pro-Israel, so much so that when he was a teenager, allegedly, a Benjamin Netanyahu who came to visit in the United States slept in a teenage Jared Kushner's bedroom while he was visiting. So that's how buddy he is with Netanyahu and these other governments. He's literally being paid to work on behalf of foreign governments as our special envoy to the Middle East.
Well, and he was involved in the negotiations in Ukraine, or whatever the hell you want to call that. He was part of that.
Well, him and Witkoff, I mean,
yeah, him and Witkoff, they're both involved in the Board of Peace.
Hey,
which
the
is
Board
a
of Peace is
fucking
going great.
joke.
Azerbaijan is about to come in any day now and try to take over this Iran situation.
Yeah.
They're going to lead the charge.
You know, I actually know someone for Azerbaijan. I should ask him how that's going.
Yeah. And so while Jared's doing all that with that you just mentioned, here we got the brothers and the Trump family with the World Liberty Financial Group, their crypto coin or whatever, taking money from these motherfuckers too. So they're both involved, you know, both sides of the family, all the way around. They're involved in this shit. And, you know, I hate doing this, but we spent over 6 fucking years talking about goddamn Hunter's laptop, which was a measly $12 million. And isn't that crazy that I say measly $12 million? And I'm not making any excuses for that. Corruption on any level is wrong. But these dudes are raping the country of billions of dollars. And we spent, I mean, you could not wake up without seeing Hunter laptop being mentioned on
and
social
I just
media.
want to understand, where is the opposition party during all of this? Because, like, to your point, we heard incessantly about Hunter Biden's laptop. We heard incessantly about fucking Benghazi. Okay, so like the Republicans have shown us how to take this to the court of public opinion. Where the fuck is our opposition party? Where is a Democrat that is, I mean, yes, you every now and again you see those like little C-SPAN. You see those like little C-SPAN clips where like a Jasmine Crockett or an AOC gets fiery in a committee meeting or whatever. That's fine, but like, is that the best that we get? I mean, that's like one step above a fiery, strongly worded email. Like, I mean, it's fine, but again, the Republicans just hammer down on the messaging. They will not let up, and they get it to be so much so that it's like every person, even your normie non-political friends, are familiar with this kind of language and this rhetoric because they've heard it from talk shows or whatever the fuck they're listening to these days. So like, it just seems insane to, where are Democrats? Like, yeah, sure, you don't have any power, but like, come out here and make a fucking fuss. At least pretend that you're not on AIPAC's fucking list.
They are having dinner with the pro-Israel lobby. That's where the fuck they are.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, but at least posture and pretend like you're not. Like, if you want to be seen as this opposition party, at least fucking pretend. But instead, they're sitting there looking around and going, wow, young people, not just Democrats, independents, America first, young people 35 and under fucking don't want to support Israel anymore. It's not that they want it to cease to exist. They don't want to push Jews into the sea. It's nothing to do with that. And it has everything to do with, we want to understand why we continue to send blood and treasure to support this other country. We just want to stop sending money. And we want to cut ties with them and treat them like we treat France or treat them like Germany. Like, you can be our ally.
Treat them like every other fucking country in the world.
And have us not, pay for your health care, pay for your education and such. But like, it is becoming so frustrating that even the Democrats are looking around going, well, We don't want to do that. We're really not interested in that. So we're just going to keep talking about maybe potential 2028 candidates being fucking Kamala Harris or Andy Bashir or Pete Buttigieg. We're just going to throw Milli Vanilli candidates at the wall who are funded by the pro-Israel lobby and just pretend that's the slop that you guys are going to eat up. And then they wonder why they can't capture the young people. Like,
Yeah,
because you
I
saw Bernie Sanders captured young people just fine, but
mhm.
you didn't want him.
You
You
didn't want
stuck us
him,
with
yeah.
Hillary Clinton,
Indiana did.
and then you stuck
Yeah.
us with somebody like, it's just
I was having a conversation last night with a Gen Z progressive in a chat group that I just got involved in, and flat out there is no opposition. The Democratic Party, there is no opposition because there's too many of them fucking been bought. They have to ride that center line, or they don't feel like they're going to get anything accomplished. Where what they really should be listening to is the people that have elected them and put them into office and who are going to primary their asses out of office. Right now, what they should do, they should fucking walk out of Congress and not give them a caucus at all. Just walk away, leave, and say, until you compromise and take the SAVE Act off the fucking table, because we will not allow this to be passed. Until you do that, we are not going to have any conversations with you. And I guarantee you, millions of Americans would stick right there behind them, and they would gain so much respect if they would do that. Instead, we're going to sit around and we're going to talk about stupid ass bullshit and, well, you did this and, we don't. Fuck that. Make something happen. These are drastic times in our country that call for drastic actions. And if walking out and shutting things down and saying, fuck you, we're not talking to you until you start talking to us, then to hell with them. I mean, it's beyond unbelievable. And when an old fucker like me can see it, I mean, my God, I've lived most of my life. I can't imagine being a 25, 30-year-old right now struggling and seeing a future that is fucking bleak as fuck. When I was your age, the future was bright. It ain't that way anymore, and people need to fucking understand that. And they're not getting it. It's,
no, and
it's,
people
it's,
my age are just so frustrated because we remember that the Iraq War was when we were children,
Mhm.
and then we grew up, and still a lot of my friends went and served in Iraq or Afghanistan, stationed in
mhm.
Kuwait, and then they come home and they think, okay, finally, I did my time, I served my country, great. I'm closing that chapter now. I'm going to start building my life and family. A lot of people don't understand that you pretty much put your life on hold to go serve your
Yeah.
country. I mean, it's akin to being like in jail. Like, your life is on hold. Your civilian life is on hold while you are out and the rest of the world is moving on without you. So like, you come home and you're ready to close this chapter and you find out that this country has moved on from you. You can't get support at the VA. You are, dealing with PTSD. It's hard to make a living. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I get that. And the national, that's $39 trillion. We're about to send you to another forever war. Are you ready to go back to the Middle East? And the, no,
Something that's really ironic when we're talking about wars. So, going to some of our notes here, the Pentagon awarded $620 million loan to Vulcan Elements, to a startup company backed by Donald Trump Jr.'s investment firm,
Mhm.
1789 Capital. And
Mhm.
because I was a French major, I find that so fucking fascinating that they decided to call it 1789 Capital, because that is the start of the French Revolution. And the French Revolution started because of shit like this.
Mhm.
Because in France at that time, you had the monarchy and then you had the nobles beneath them. And essentially, you had like a bread and circus sort of situation going on. And they had squeezed the French public so much that people were eating like rotten flesh off of dead animals and all this sort of stuff. They were so downtrodden that they rose up against the French government. Hence the French Revolution. That ended with a lot of people being beheaded, including the monarchy. What do you think is going to happen in America when you have a bunch of people, and some of them still, descendants of the American Revolution, like myself? Do you think this type of people is going to stand for this bread and circus for very much longer? No, sir. They're not. And I just find it so fascinating how they try and twist and turn little elements of history like that. I don't know. I'm assuming it was like picked out randomly, right? Like anybody with Google can find out that 1789 was the beginning of the French Revolution. So I just thought that was interesting since we're speaking about war, and I figured I'd give my little history tidbit to you guys today.
Yeah, I had never dug into that part of it. I didn't understand what the 1789 was, and but it's fascinating to know that, and I'm sure there is a connection there. But to expand on that a little bit, what's even stranger is that that company was started just weeks prior to this contract or this loan given to Donald Jr. And at the time, they had very few employees, and I think just shortly after that, they reached like 30 employees,
We've
which
been seeing that a lot
but
lately around the government, haven't we?
yeah, but
Mhm.
DHS.
that loan or whatever you want to call it, is the largest one ever awarded to anyone or any company in the history of the Pentagon. So, I mean,
And it goes to the
uh, it,
president's son.
yeah, would you call that grifting?
I
I mean,
think
what
you should put
you
a
know?
picture of them in grifting. Like that should be
Yeah,
underneath grifting in the fucking dictionary.
yeah. I mean, what it's like,
Well,
and
when
MAGA
people
just
want to
sits
know
back and
why,
is like, oh well, we don't give
and
a
when
fuck.
people want to know why only 20% of Americans support this war in Iran, but we are still in it. There you go.
Yeah,
That's why. Follow the
Mhm.
money. Who
yeah,
benefits?
Mhm.
yeah. It's just
And they're happy to
it's
let the American public die, like literally die. We're not
yeah.
talking suffer anymore. Like
No,
you people can just die, period.
as you so often start your conversations or your statements, Tabitha, with what I find interesting. I'm going to start that right now with this comment. What I find interesting is how we could just totally take a fucking topic and just go off the
Girl,
rails
I was
in a
literally looking at my
completely
notes, trying to find a spot to be like, all right, now I'm
different
going to connect it back
direction.
because I stopped for a second. I was like, wait,
So,
how the fuck did we get here?
We're
What are we even
talking
which is
talking about?
fine.
money.
That's what we
No,
do,
I
and
know, but
this is all
sometimes we
valuable
have a
information.
tendency to be like, all right, well, here's another historical example.
Yeah,
And then we go like, oh, well, that
I know.
historical
Right,
example reminds me over
right.
here.
Yeah,
And then
I
that
know.
historical
And
example over here. And then I'm like, oh, but we were way the fuck back there. I've lost the
yeah,
thread now. I'm glad you said something. I was starting
but
to
I
lose my
think it's
mind for a
good.
second. No, it's
It's
good. I just was
valuable
like, oh shit, where did
information
I
that we
go?
know. It's valuable information that we share, and I hope people enjoy it and find it entertaining. I mean, we are here to educate and try to
We are
dig
nothing
into
if not
problems and to
entertaining.
make it make
This is
sense.
true.
But you know, we
We're
we
like
are
fighting
trying
each other
to.
to tell so much information at once. They're like, we can't contain ourselves.
Yeah, but that's how we do. I mean, people just have no idea what our conversations are like offline. It's like, Jesus. Well, they're kind of a representation of this, actually, but
Well, I'm
but
very much of the neurodiverse world that way, so I apologize because
yeah.
my brain is like
No, no, no,
popcorn and
no.
it's
I
like, and
wasn't.
this
I
and this and
wasn't.
this.
Yeah, no. We all did it. We all, cashed in our ticket and jumped on a different train. That's not a problem. I think this is what we're best at. But we're talking about grifting, and the examples that we're giving are people that have grifted and have taken advantage of the system and stuff. So, but
And the
just
others
to
that
get
didn't.
yeah, just to get back to this family right here with a few more things, and then you guys can take it from here, and we'll finish up on this particular pod. But his personal wealth, and you know who I'm talking about when I say his, because I just refuse to say his fucking name whenever I can, has increased over $7.3 billion since inauguration day. And I'm sure it's probably more than that, because we have to realize we get figures, but they control the information. So how much accuracy is in all of this? We've got to keep an open mind to it. He's added over $2.25 trillion to the national debt, which I'm sure is, a little bit higher than that. But the crypto alone, they have made over $2.37 billion, most of it from the World Liberty Financial crypt that we, talked about earlier, that was launched in 2024, right after the reelection occurred. So it was like, oh, he's reelected. Now we can start our cryptocurrency. And they're sitting there doing this. Okay. They created foreign licensing deals in places like Qatar and Vietnam. the
Don't forget
Congressional
that
Oversight
sick
Committee.
Qatari jet that they got. That was a
Yeah.
great. I mean, that was like $100 million Qatari jet. Don't forget.
That we had to
Yeah,
retrofit.
Then we
and
had to forget. That was such a fucked up part because it's not only did he gets to keep the $100 million Qatari jet, but we, the taxpayers, had to take it apart because you have to take it apart down to the
yeah.
studs and look at every piece and make sure that there isn't a bug or something, intelligence community didn't do something shady, and then put it all back together. And whatever that costs, we're gonna pay. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have a conniption.
No. And MAGA sits back today and still says, "Well, that's not his jet. It's bull fucking shit."
But, and,
Bullshit. He
give
gonna
me a
take it with him.
give
Isn't
me
it
a
going
break.
to the Donald Trump presidential library, which is
Yeah.
obviously has notoriously over the years been just a funnel
Yeah.
for
And look,
presidents and their
I-
pet projects.
It's just like the military base that Qatar is building or military training
In
center
Idaho,
in Idaho. And I made a post about this the other day, and somebody says, "See, they're not building a military base." Okay, they're taking an existing one of ours and they're redoing it, but they're doing it to train their fucking fighter pilots.
never forget that Jared Kushner is a paid Qatari agent. You laugh at
Huh?
Tucker Carlson, but
Yeah.
Jared Kushner and his Affinity private equity firm is literally being paid to help grow the assets of Qatar.
on
So
U.S.
Qatar
soil.
says,
agent, yes,
"Here,
on U.S. soil.
And I'll go
here's
even
this
further.
$1 million jet. Here's this $1 million jet. Then you let our motherfuckers come over to your country and train as pilots. And then somewhere down the road, we'll use that against you."
That's only the point. They serve the almighty dollar sign, and that's all he
grifting.
cares about.
This is an example of the grifting, and
Yes.
and that nobody talks about this plane. Nobody talks
That's why I
about
said
Qatar.
never forget this
They
Qatari
don't.
plane, because we don't talk about it anymore because we are
It's not
flooding the zone with so much stuff. People cannot keep it straight. You can't remember it. So
right. Right. The way to kill a flower is to give it too much water, and that's what they're doing. They're just continuously pouring water on a flower, and they're just drowning everything out.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's do that. Well, we haven't even touched the situation that happened in Venezuela and what's happening with that. That the oil that's being stolen and it's being sold on the market, and the fucking money is not even going to the United States Treasury. Oh, now they're saying it's going over their oversight on the account. Bullshit. He's
I say,
got
is that the
total
bank
control of
account
this
that's
fucking
just
shit.
yeah. It's just
He
his
took-
personal bank account.
Isn't
Yeah.
it based in the
y'all.
Middle East? Is it not?
Yeah. I'm not sure where it is at this point.
Sierra
It
would
really doesn't
probably
matter.
know.
It's and I don't even know if it's the same bank account that he took the $10 billion of taxpayer money and put it to the Board of Peace, which he has total fucking control of.
I would imagine it
So
would be.
It's like, I mean, how
Grifting at
many
its finest.
instances? How many instances do we have to put out there, or that do people have to see before, we finally get our representatives, like I said before, our Democrats, just to say, fuck it, we're done, and walk out and shut the whole fucking thing down, and then let them shoot them, whatever that you want to say.
Yeah.
Let them see which direction they're going to go and what they're going to do about it. But because we have ballless people representing us right now who have too much interest of their own that they're worried about, because they're funded by foreign governments and they are given APAC money. I mean, it's
APAC money. It is defense contractor money. The other part of it that we kind of touched on, but to make it make sense for people, I just want to connect all of the dots here. It's also the crypto. It's also the AI. These things are not separate. They all work together.
And, I think we've given quite a few examples of the grifting that takes place, not only with this family right now, but with many that are intertwined in our governance in this country, and how money is a big influence with all of them. And we've barely even talked about, which I think is going to turn into the biggest fucking grift of them all, the Board of Peace, and what their plans of what they're going to do to Gaza. They're going to turn that into, a playground. They're going to turn it into a Vegas or whatever you want to call it. That's what their plans are going to do. So that grift right there is going to go on for decades if they're allowed to go through with this, and that's what we have to stop. So
I can't, and
man,
I'm so interested to see how they think that will play out, Do they
Yeah.
really think that they're going to get much business investment on the soil of a genocide just took place? I mean, realistically, if you're thinking about building a hotel, are you going to build a hotel and put all of your assets and put and bet on Gaza when Israel consistently bombs its neighbors? I mean, like, I just don't know
Well,
that as a
Who
company
wants to go on vacation there?
I would do
Yeah,
that.
who
No, you're
who
not going to get many people to go on vacation there except for what? Israelis and some American evangelicals. Like, the rest of the world is not on the side of this.
Right,
So,
right, right.
and a lot of people in other countries are honestly starting to not be on the side of Israel in a way more than just like, oh, that's awful. They're starting to not want to enter. They're boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Israel. They're starting to decide that they don't want to buy Israeli products anymore.
We get a little off target a bit. We get a little emotional, but that's who we are because we care so fucking much about our country and what's happening with the atrocities in our country and around the world. Because that's who we are. We're three Hoosiers that give a shit about people, not only that live in our state, but all humanity. That's who we are.
So I know that we covered a lot, and we honestly are just barely scratching the surface with this. We could have gone on so much longer. We didn't even touch Polymarket and Kalshi and all the betting, the normies betting on war, which is insane to me. Maybe we'll have to touch that in another video. There's so much, but hopefully that this was enough to try to start at least. Thank you for joining us today as we try to make it make sense. Please be sure to leave us a comment so that we can start a conversation, like and subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so that you can get notified when we upload new videos. So we'll see you next time. I'm Sierra,
I'm Tabitha.
And I'm Kurt.
and we're just trying to make it make sense.